lose him that way and alone, that's what really hurt.
Dispatch to Officer Thomas Joseph LaValley, badge 1284.
Gunning down Officer Thomas LaValley 4 years ago. Cannon's trial was set for January. However, his defense team claims the killing of Shreveport officer Shateri Payne that same month would prejudice a jury.
Dispatch to unit, shots fired, wrong side, shots fired.
1033 West Side, 2124. Where are you located?
This is Zach Beard with the Shreveport Times. We're here on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and police officers were fatally shot. Now we're being told by police that this report was called in after following a family dispute, but we're here trying to get more details to find out exactly what happened, who shot the officer, why the officer was shot, and where that shooter is now. Stay with us.
Out in the Shreveport, Louisiana neighborhood Wednesday night, killing a police officer responding to an emergency call.
We received a call about 9:14 p.m. of a prowler suspicious person at a home. Apparently the guy inside the home was armed with a weapon and was threatening to harm people inside the home, and that's when the officer was called out and arrived on the scene.
Police were expecting to find an armed man threatening a family member, but when the officer arrived, someone opened fire. The officer was hit several times and rushed to a nearby hospital where he died. An intense manhunt is underway for the suspect.
We don't know if the suspect is still armed or not, but we have to err on the side of caution and believe that he is. So we're gonna handle it that way.
Authorities launched an extensive search for the shooter using drones and helicopters.
For a dangerous suspect, tops your news. Yeah, this manhunt is underway. Good morning, everyone. It's happening in Shreveport, Louisiana this morning for a suspect who shot and killed a police officer. Police say the officer was responding to the report of a suspicious person inside a home Wednesday night. The armed man apparently was inside the home and was threatening to harm people. Police have been searching the area with helicopters, drones, and police dogs.
Greg, what you're looking at right now, this is video of Shreveport police, exclusive video, taking the suspect, Grover Cannon, into the police station after finding him hiding at a house. This is the end of what was an intense manhunt for Cannon, who is accused of shooting Officer Thomas LaValley last night as the officer tried to arrest him. Cannon had been wanted for attempted murder charges. As for the slain officer, Thomas LaValley,
Let's check out the other call. I have a suspicious person, 3527 Del Rio, Michelle George is going to be the complainant. Male in the neighbor's kitchen is threatening to frighten the neighbors who live there. They're afraid he might have a weapon. They want officers to come out.
Dispatch to unit, shots fired, wrong side, shots fired.
Are you close to crossing
1033 West Side, 1033 West Side, 2124. Where are you located? It shows up as LaValley.
Officer Thomas LaValley, we know that he was a veteran for 4 years of the Shreveport Police Force, and at one point he was a news photographer, but before all that, he was a son of Sanibel. We know that he graduated from Sanibel High School in 2003, and more than 10 years later, the teachers and coaches here still remember him well as a student who was hardworking, an avid wrestler and athlete. They tell us that he was noticed in the
to be able to get out and kill someone else, which I feel like he would have done if he was out.
Defendants really don't want to go to trial, so they use every contrivance, everything they can to keep from having a trial. We had almost 50 witnesses subpoenaed. There were over 1,000 people prepared for jury duty, and they used the unfortunate death of Officer Payne to ask for a continuance in this particular case.
Now it's day 2 of the trial of accused cop killer Grover Cannon.
NBC 6's Zyneria Bird has been in the courtroom all day. She joins us now live sharing more. Zyne.
Well, Dana and Jackie, it's been an emotional day for Thomas LaValley's family as the prosecution called 7 witnesses to remember the day of August 5th, 2015, the day Thomas died. Now, 5 Shreveport police officers took the stand to establish where Thomas's body was laying inside the home when they arrived, how long it took for backup to get to the house, and where the officers went when they first arrived on the scene. 2 firefighters responded to the scene, testified as the jury watched dash cam video from Thomas's patrol car of the first responders and paramedics working to revive LaValley while placing him into an ambulance. Now the trial is expected to go through the weekend, and if convicted, Grover Cannon will be facing the
Day 5 of the trial of accused cop killer Grover Cannon.
NBC 6's Zyneria Bird joins us now in studio control, sharing more. Zyne.
Well, Dan and Jackie, today has been a long day of testimony about the day Grover Cannon was captured. Shreveport police officer Alan Alcare, who is on the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force, testified he found Cannon inside a shed on Jackson Street the day he was arrested. Alcare said after telling Cannon to show his hands and get on the ground, a state trooper came and covered him while he handcuffed Cannon. Now, dash cam video was shown of Cannon being transported to the Shreveport Police Department by Louisiana State Police. The expert who did DNA analysis of Cannon's clothing, the gun found in the shed where he was apprehended, and 2 bullets found in his pocket, testified she did not find Cannon's DNA on the weapon or bullets. Now, a speck of blood belonging to Cannon was found on the shorts he was wearing when he was captured, but it was unknown whether the clothes Cannon was captured in were the same clothes that he was wearing 18 hours earlier when Officer LaValley was shot. Now, over the weekend, the trial was delayed Saturday after the judge replaced a juror after she fell ill, and on Sunday, witness Dennis Sinville testified he saw Cannon running out of the house after multiple shots were fired. Now, Cannon's mother and sister, who asked a neighbor to call 911 after Cannon threatened to kill everyone in the house, took the stand separately, both claiming they didn't remember anything, and Cannon's sister denied that she even asked the neighbor to call the police. But even after the jury was ushered out and each was shown a video of their interviews telling police just that, they claimed they didn't remember. Now, the trial is expected to last 2 to 3 weeks, but if convicted, Grover Cannon can face the death penalty.
Day 6 of accused cop killer Grover Cannon's trial. NBC 6's Zyneria Bird joins us now live from the courthouse with more. Zy?
Today was another hard day inside of the courtroom for everyone as we heard the audio recordings of Thomas LaValley being shot and killed was played again. But in an explosive testimony from Carla White, the crime lab's firearm examiner, the jury learned that White concluded the gun that fired the 9mm cartridge at LaValley's crime scene was from the same weapon used in the Darren Williams attempted murder. Now, this morning started off with testimony from the man who said he witnessed Grover Cannon open fire on a man just 3 weeks before LaValley died. Larry Clarkson testified he saw Cannon shoot Darren Williams, first claiming he only knew Cannon from seeing him around, but later admitted his girlfriend's nephew is in jail for charge for raping Cannon's daughter. Now, Shreveport Police Detective Sean Heidenberg, lead investigator of LaValley's murder, described the emotional state of the first officers who responded to the scene where they found LaValley lying in a pool of blood on the floor inside Cannon's sister's home, telling the jury they were all obviously very upset. They had wandered in and found a fellow brother in blue dead or at least dying. Now, the jury had part of Heidenberg's videotaped interview with Cannon's mom, Ramona, and his sister's boyfriend, Edward Flakes, in the night of LaValley's murder. Now, the video of the interview with Cannon's sister, Lataria, also was played for the jury. She described Cannon as so violent, saying he once went off on his special needs sister, Latanya, and knocked out her teeth, and another time strangled his mom and drug her to the back of the house. Lataria also said in the interview she told police Cannon had done things to family members, but she said they were never as extreme as they had become. Lataria said Cannon stole from them, but still, she said every time he got out of jail, she tried to help, but finally told her mom some people just can't be helped. Now, the prosecution has rested for the evening, and the defense will be entering their first witness in the morning, and this trial is expected to go on for another 2 to 3 weeks, and if convicted, Grover Cannon will be facing the death penalty.
Grover Cannon's first-degree murder trial. As he took the stand today, As the one and only witness for the defense, he argued he didn't kill Shreveport officer Thomas LaValley. A packed courtroom listened to Cannon testify for 48 minutes. 2 jurors refused to look at him. 1 juror covered her face and ears.
Well, Cannon's lead defense attorney told the jury that Cannon wrote the questions and was testifying over the objection of the Capitol defense team. Cannon said his lawyer wanted to argue self-defense, but he told the jury, quote, "I didn't do anything, so why would I plead self-defense?" We will bring you updates.
The verdict is in. Convicted cop killer Grover Cannon got life in prison after the jury was split, weighing their life or death decision. NBC6's Jenna Jordan was in the courtroom as the verdict was announced.
Family and friends of slain Shreveport police officer Thomas LaValley say justice was served tonight by the jury's decision to sentence Grover Cannon to life in prison without parole.
Glad it's over. It's been a long time.
It's been more than 4 years since Jackie LaValley's son Thomas was killed on duty, shot while responding to a report of a suspicious person at the home of Grover Cannon's sister.
To lose him that way and alone, that's what really hurts.
The jury unanimously convicted Grover Cannon of first-degree murder in the officer's death on Wednesday. Some of the evidence difficult for those close to LaValley to hear.
I personally hadn't heard his last words or seen, the autopsy photos were hard.
Following that conviction, the same jury was tasked with determining Cannon's fate, life in prison or death by lethal injection.
Life or death, he's still going to die behind bars, and he'll never see the light of day, and I think that's what ultimately is the goal, is to make sure the monster never gets out.
3 days of testimony for the penalty phase of the trial wrapped on Saturday. The defense drawing on witnesses to characterize Cannon's childhood and brain damage attributed to his mother's alcohol use while pregnant.
It's a difficult case for everybody concerned because we all realize the mental impairments that affected both the defendant and affected his ability to actually let us put on the right defense for him.
The testimony made impact with the jury, and they were deadlocked after deliberating for about an hour, unable to unanimously decide on the death penalty. As a result, Cannon was sentenced to life in prison at hard labor without parole.
He's not going to be able to get out and kill someone else, which I feel like he would have done if he was out in the public.
LaValley's family and friends doing what they can to keep his memory alive.
Even the killer said Thomas was a hero. And I know he said it in a weird context, but Thomas was a hero. And it's much more than that, but if you had to choose one word, hero would be it.
Cannon will be formally sentenced on January 2nd. Reporting outside the Caddo Parish Courthouse, I'm Jenna Jordan.
Wants a new trial. The man sentenced in prison 2 years ago for murdering Shreveport police officer Thomas LaValley. He made that official request in court today. Today, lawyers for this convicted killer, Grover Cannon, back in court trying to overturn his conviction. KSLA Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron tells us why Cannon believes he's entitled to a new trial.
Grover Cannon's defense team and the trial judge violated the 6th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution when they allowed Cannon's lawyers to argue self-defense at trial over Cannon's wishes. At least that's what an appellate attorney representing the convicted cop killer told a 3-judge panel on the Louisiana 2nd Circuit Court of Appeal this morning. Arguing for 20 minutes, Cannon's attorney said his client did not want to argue self-defense and admit to shooting Officer LaValley in his mom's Queensboro home back in 2015, but his lawyer ignored Cannon's wishes and pursued a self-defense strategy anyway. That alleged violation of Cannon's 6th Amendment rights under a case called McCoy versus Louisiana means the conviction should be overturned according to Cannon's lawyer and a new trial ordered. But the state pushed back, arguing Cannon's rights were not violated because his lawyer also argued Cannon's preferred strategy, that Cannon was never at the murder scene and police with SPD conspired to set him up for LaValley's murder.
This is not a situation that Mr. Cannon created. When you have a defense attorney who's telling you, I'm going to do my defense no matter what you want, what other choice did he have? What other choice did he have than to let the jury know this is not the defense that I agree with?
Convicted in November 2019 of first-degree murder, Cannon avoided the death penalty but got life in prison with no possibility of parole or release. The morning arguments here at the Second Circuit Court of Appeal lasted for a little more than 40 minutes, with the three-judge panel taking the arguments under advisement but giving no timeline for when a written opinion or decision in Cannon's appeal may be handed down. Reporting
Grover Cannon, the man convicted of killing Shreveport police officer Thomas LaValley, will remain behind bars for life. Since our last newscast, the Caddo Parish District Attorney's Office confirmed for us an appeals court affirmed Cannon's sentence and conviction. Cannon was convicted of murder in 2019. He appealed that decision, claimed his Sixth Amendment rights were violated. Well, today the court rejected that appeal. Cannon is guilty of killing Thomas LaValley back in 2015 at Cannon's home in the Queensboro neighborhood.
3029 dispatch. Dispatch to Officer LaValley. Dispatch to Officer LaValley. Dispatch to Officer Thomas Joseph LaValley. Badge 1284. We thank you for your dedication, loyalty, and for years of exemplary service to the Shreveport Police Department, the citizens of Shreveport, Louisiana, and the United States of America. You have made the people you have served and your family proud. Your sacrifices will not be forgotten. Rest in peace, Officer Thomas Joseph LaValley, badge 1284, coded forever.
I can still hear him answer the phone when I call. He had a weird way of he never said hello, you know. He was like, go ahead, you know, something like that. And it's when somebody called me Chris Relaford once, and so that was his name for me. He was always, what's up, Relaford?
Thomas LaValley has a small memorial in Betty, Virginia Park, where his sacrifice is remembered in Shreveport.
I can't remember the whole story, but they said, you know, somebody dies twice. It's when they die, and then when people forget them. And we're only going to let Thomas die once, because we'll never forget him.
Although there is no mention specifically of the attempted murder warrant, in the arrest affidavit, SPD writes about the next few events captured on the officer's body microphone. He knocked at the door and began a conversation. He says something to the effect, "What's up, man? Let me see your hands. Move your hands from me." Immediately after that, shots are fired. LaValley is then heard in distress, SPD says, calling for assistance, saying he had been hit. 3 more shots and a bullet takes out his body microphone. 14 minutes after the initial call, the log records shots fired, officer down. Police reports detail the bloody scene along with efforts there and at the hospital to resuscitate the fallen officer. Overnight and the next day, an unknown number of police joined the search for the gunman. Hundreds of pages are devoted to reports of officers who responded to the crime scene and suspect search. Detectives interview Cannon's father, who says his son showed up at his house sweating and admitted to shooting a police officer. He had 2 black handguns in his waistband, one with a flashlight attached. LaValley's duty weapon is still missing. Louisiana State Police write, when officers found Cannon in a Jackson Street garage, he told them his name was Cedric Graham. In his pockets were $140 cash, a Louisiana Purchase card bearing his real name, and 2 9mm bullets that matched department-issued ammunition. Marking the personal nature of the investigation, one officer closes a supplemental report with the following line, "Rest in peace, Officer T. LaValley, 1284 EOW, August 5, 2015. May justice be swift." The court records also include dozens of pages of transcribed telephone conversations Cannon had with people calling him in jail. Cannon is quoted as saying he didn't know the dude who got shot and claiming, "I'm a lovable person. They're just dressing me up to be a monster." He also instructs one caller to take down his Facebook page where comments had been made about Officer LaValley's death. And he talks about going home after his October court date because police lacked a gun and had no evidence to hold him. Cannon has pleaded not guilty for both LaValley's death and an earlier, unrelated attempted second-degree murder charge. In one police report, his sister mentions Cannon may have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and was not taking his medication.